I will make sure that I get my news coverage from a reliable source.
Hey players, good morning players, good morning players, all players, hey players, Musty, Marjorie, Frumpy Duck. This is incitement of an insurrection. They suspended her without explanation. This witness wasn't shown on camera because she was underage, and a spokesperson for Mayor Jacob Frost to the motherfucking dog, who said the mariachi band being placed outside of his house. This is Double D Momo, reporter for the Black Green News, where I'm black and the news is always accurate. Player, grab your teacup. It's time for Real Tea with Double D. Hey players, welcome to a brand new episode of the Real Tea with Double D. Of course, I am Double D, and we are on the GSMC Podcasting Network. So excited to be with you all tonight to record a brand new episode. And we have some very interesting news to unpack. And it's been a very interesting day, at least for me anyway. I did get some good news though, and I'm such a proud parent that I have to share. My little baby girl, is doing so good in school. You guys know that she's in pre-K. If you've been following me for a while, you should know that my little girl's 3 years old. She's in pre-K and she's doing fabulous in school. I actually spoke with the teacher today, and she talked about how Deanna knows all her colors and her shapes and how she listens so well. And I'm just very proud of that. So I had a very proud mom moment today, and I'm pretty sure there's some people that can relate to that moment when you get a good report about your child, especially when they don't treat you the same way at home. So you all, it's been an interesting day with some interesting information that came out and some stuff that I just wanted to go over on my podcast. I can talk a little bit longer than I can on TikTok. Remember, if you are not following me on TikTok, to follow me at The Real Double D Mother. Also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Double D Mother. I am actually recording the first part of this podcast live on my YouTube as well as my Facebook. So I would like to say hey to anybody that's listening on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, I won't be responding to any of your questions because I am recording live for the podcast and they can't see anything, but you guys can. So thank y'all so much for joining. Now, the first item on the agenda that we will be talking about today is the Senate Judiciary Committee with the gymnasts that testified regarding their treatment by the Justice Department as well as the FBI during the investigation of Larry Nassar. I was actually very intrigued to watch this in its entirety. And the reason why is because, of course, I wanted to know why this went on for so long and so many young girls were violated by this piece of shit pervert that, in my opinion, disguised himself as a doctor. He was not a doctor because the first oath that a doctor will take is to do no harm. And he definitely harmed a lot of women and girls. And the U.S. Gymnastics Association, as well as the FBI and the Justice Department, have some culpability in that because they listened to Larry Nassar. I actually watched a documentary. It was available on Amazon Prime, and I should have looked it up so I can give you all the name. But I watched a documentary about this and how they treated Larry Nassar during the investigation. It was just completely disgusting, and they did not take those ladies seriously. And it reminded me so much of Jeffrey Epstein, how he was treated and how really these women in that case haven't gotten any justice. So I'm going to start with playing you guys some videos and some of the testimony, some of the riveting, heartbreaking testimony by some of these young ladies. They're young ladies, women now, but they were children at the time when they were violated by Larry Nassar. And the the culpability and the way they felt about the FBI doing the investigation is very interesting. So I'm going to play Simone Biles first. I will warn you that this is graphic content with some. I will give you a trigger warning at this time that if you can't handle this type of stuff, then I would suggest that you stop listening now. But I do think it's important to hear these young ladies. So we'll check out Simone Biles first.
I don't want another young gymnast, Olympic athlete, or any individual to experience the horror that I and hundreds of others have endured before, during, and continuing to this day in the wake of the Larry Nassar abuse. To be clear,
take your time.
To be clear, I blame Larry Nassar, and I also blame an entire system that enabled and perpetrated his abuse. USA Gymnastics and the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee knew that I was abused by their official team doctor long before I was ever made aware of their knowledge. In May of 2015, Rhonda Fayen, the former head of USA Gymnastics women's program, was told by my friend and teammate, Maggie Nichols, that she suspected I, too, was a victim. I didn't understand the magnitude of what all was happening until the Indianapolis Star published its article in the fall of 2016, entitled, "Former USA Gymnastics Doctor Accused of Abuse."
So, as you can see, she got a little teary-eyed there, and they had to tell her to take her time because, you know, doing this, it shows incredible strength, because not only are they seated in a room full of men and strangers, they're actually doing this in front of the world, and they're reliving that trauma. I tip my hat to them, because I don't think that's something that I could go through. Whenever I think about people having to go through something like that, male or female, it's always gut wrenching to me. And when they have to do when they have to do testimony, and they keep reliving it over and over again, and you could really tell by seeing her and listen to her voice how she felt. And I was dumbfounded by her testimony, and I was also touched by her testimony. So the allegations against Larry Nassar, they were brought to the agency back in July 2015. There was several violations of protocol that led to months in delays. And there was actually the Justice Department Inspector General report that was released in July that said that FBI officials failed to respond to Nassar's allegations with the utmost seriousness and the urgency that they deserved and required. They made numerous and fundamental errors when they did respond to them, and violated multiple FBI policies. I would like you all to listen to this next young lady, because she gives it straight to him, and she gives it to him without a chaser.
They quietly allowed Nassar to slip out the side door, knowingly allowing him to continue his work at MSU, Sparrow Hospital, a USAG club, and even run for school board. Nassar found more than 100 new victims to molest. It was like serving innocent children up to a pedophile on a silver platter. We cannot believe that there's a safer future for children unless we fully understand every single thing that happened. And USA Gymnastics does say that they've done investigations, but those were not completely independent, and the scope of the investigation matters. Nobody should be off limits. Nothing should be off limits. It should go back decades, and that has not been done, and it's been something that we've been asking for years and years. And so I personally would like to see all three organizations completely investigated, and the scope of it matters, because until we know all the facts, it's just guesswork. And I hope you guys feel the same way about as I do, that if we're thinking about children going into gymnastics or sports, I don't want to be guessing that they're going to be okay. I want to know with 100% certainty that somebody that looked the other way for us isn't still in a position of power. And so I think the investigation is crucial. And until that, I don't have any faith that things will get better in the sport. I thought that it was being handled, and so I can't express to you, when you're told by the president of USA Gymnastics at the time, Steve Penny, that they're handling it, they got it. I didn't know they were going to mishandle it and cover it up like they have. And when they're telling me they're talking to FBI and they should be reaching out soon, I unfortunately believed them. And I can't tell you how horrifying it is to meet young girls who look up to me, who watched me compete in the Olympics, and tell me that they went to see Nassar because of me and my teammates, because they wanted to see the Olympic doctor. And I guess in his office, Nassar's office, he had some photos of us. And so they went to see him because they thought it was so cool to have the same doctor as us. And so that's been one of the hardest and most devastating parts for me, is so many survivors suffer with guilt and shame. And so it takes everything I have to work on not taking the blame for that, because it's horrific. And it's horrible to meet them and to know that over 100 victims could have been spared the abuse if all we needed was one adult to do the right thing.
So her testimony was very riveting as well. She went into vivid detail about how she told them, and she thought that they were handling it. That was the U.S. Gymnastics president, and they didn't take her. They told her that they were handling it, but they didn't handle it. They actually told her parents that they were handling it, and they didn't do anything. In fact, it was actually several months after that they found out that they hadn't reported anything, that they were really sweeping this under the rug. And Larry Nassar was seeing more and more and more people, more girls, even though he shouldn't have been seeing anyone, because these allegations had been brought up against him many years prior. And it is completely disgusting. I am disgusted with this, and the FBI should be ashamed of itself. But honestly, are we really surprised that the FBI swept something under the rug? Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Do we really fully trust the FBI? No, they have been culpable in covering up many investigations. I mean, we can look back into the Frumpy Dump administration. These people are loyal to their own interest. And this young lady, Maroney, she's going to tell you about that.
As most of you are probably aware, I was molested by the U.S. Gymnastics national team and Olympic team doctor, Larry Nassar. And in actuality, he turned out to be more of a pedophile than he was a doctor. What I'm trying to bring to your attention today is something incredibly disturbing and illegal. After telling my entire story of abuse to the FBI in the summer of 2015, not only did the FBI not report my abuse, but when they eventually documented my report 17 months later, they made entirely false claims about what I said. After reading the Office of Inspector General's OIG report, I was shocked and deeply disappointed at this narrative they chose to fabricate. They chose to lie about what I said and protect a serial child molester rather than protect not only me, but countless others. In the summer of 2015, like I said, I was scheduled to speak to the FBI about my abuse with Larry Nassar over the phone. I was too sick to go meet with anyone in person, and talking about this abuse would give me PTSD for days. But I chose to speak about it to try and make a difference and protect others. I told him that the first thing Larry Nassar ever said to me was to change into shorts with no underwear because that would make it easier for him to work on me. And within minutes, he had his fingers in my vagina. The FBI then immediately asked, did he insert his fingers into your rectum? I said, no, he never did. They asked if he used gloves. I said, no, he never did. They asked if this treatment ever helped me. I said, no, it never did. This treatment was 100% abuse and never gave me any relief. I then told the FBI about Tokyo, the day he gave me a sleeping pill for the plane ride, to then work on me later that night. That evening, I was naked, completely alone, with him on top of me, molesting me for hours. I told them I thought I was going to die that night because there was no way that he would let me go. But he did. I then proceeded to tell them about London and how he'd sign me up last on his sheet so he could molest me for hours twice a day. I told them how he molested me right before I won my team gold medal. I thought given the severity of this situation that they would act quickly for the sake of protecting other girls. But instead, it took them 14 months to report anything when Larry Nassar, in my opinion, should have been in jail that day.
So, just heart-wrenching. So that FBI agent that actually took her statement, he was actually fired. His last day on the job was Tuesday. Now, this is years later. He's just now fired on Tuesday. They said that he was accused of failing to launch a proper investigation into Michaela Maroney's 2015 allegation. They said that this was according to the Justice Department Inspector General's report, and the report found that agents investigating allegations of sexual abuse of Nassar had violated the FBI's policies. So he was let go. But let's just keep in mind that many of these FBI agents that were involved in this, and these girls actually pointed this out, that many of them were offered new jobs. Many of them have retired and received pensions and bonuses and all of this since this actually happened. I am completely disgusted by this entire display. And the Justice Department, excuse me, the Justice Department didn't even show up today. They weren't even there. Now they're supposed to testify in October, so I'm really interested in what they have to say about the failures of this entire investigation and how they failed these ladies, and they are culpable in many other young ladies being molested by this madman. So FBI Director Chris Wray was there, and this is what he had to say. He was actually very apologetic.
On behalf of the entire FBI, I want to begin by saying to the brave women who testified here this morning, Ms. Biles, Ms. Maroney, Ms. Nichols, and Ms. Raisman, and I gather there were some others here today who were among the many who Nassar hurt. I'm deeply and profoundly sorry to each and every one of you. I'm sorry for what you and your families have been through. I'm sorry that so many different people let you down over and over again. And I'm especially sorry that there were people at the FBI who had their own chance to stop this monster back in 2015 and failed. And that is inexcusable. It never should have happened, and we're doing everything in our power to make sure it never happens again. I want to be crystal clear. The actions and inaction of the FBI employees detailed in this report are totally unacceptable. These individuals betrayed the core duty that they have of protecting people. They failed to protect young women and girls from abuse. And the work we do certainly is often complicated and uncertain, and we're never going to be perfect, but the kinds of fundamental errors that were made in this case in 2015 and 16 should never have happened.
So that's what he had to say in response. He was very apologetic, but in my opinion, some things are a day late and a dollar short. And I felt so sorry for these young ladies, and I really felt bad when the young lady said a lot of these gymnasts wanted to get examined by the pervert Larry Nassar because we were accomplished gymnasts, and they wanted to go to the best, and that's why they went to Larry Nassar. And Larry Nassar ended up taking advantage of these people, these young ladies. I feel like he should rot in jail. And honestly, I have no words for a piece of shit like him that would take advantage of young girls like that. So I just wanted to touch on that and talk about it and let you all hear, excuse me, some of the riveting testimony in regards to this, because it needs to be heard. The FBI failed. The Justice Department failed. The U.S. Gymnastics definitely failed. And in my opinion, they shouldn't even be in charge of handling young girls. They did not do the right thing by these young girls, and it is completely disgusting. So I just wanted to talk about that, and I'm going to have to take a little short break, but when I come back, we are going to be discussing Frumpy Dump in this E. Jean Carroll case. We're actually going to discuss Nicki Minaj again, unfortunately, because she's back in the headlines again today. She's definitely trying to distract from her own bullshit with what she's got going on. She actually got invited to the White House, y'all. So when we come back after this, we'll be talking about that. And we'll also discuss immigrants have to be vaxxed in order to get their green card. We'll be right back after this.